this one, I will be making this one today. Hi, my name is Alex and welcome to the Crochet Circle. In today's video I want to show you on a tutorial on how to make a granny square Christmas tree. Now this Christmas tree is actually done from a granny square that is folded and folded again and sewn together to hold its shape. So it is really easy to do, and it is actually a perfect project if you have some scrap yarn to use like I did here. So this is the yarn I usually use for socks. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4 different kinds of yarn as well here, 3 different kinds of yarn. But I still think that these trees look amazing and they are perfect as an ornament, like just the right size. Now I will be making this one today. What you will need is of course some yarn and a crochet hook. Now I am gonna be using a bit bigger crochet hook this time. It's gonna be a 4mm, even though the yarn is for about 3.5 max. Scissors, a needle that I kind of lost now, but you get the point. You need a needle, and so that you will be able to get the yarn through, and that is it. Oh, and you definitely need your favorite granny square pattern. Now if you don't have any, I will show you how I made first the granny square, and then in the second part I'm gonna show you how to fold the granny square to get this crocheted Christmas tree ornament. Join me, let the crocheting begin. So let's start with the granny square now. As I already said, it's gonna be in one color, so I will be just doing everything around and around and around. And for the increases, they are gonna be done in the corners, and I'm not gonna complicate it because I'm just gonna be using a chain of 3, but you can also do standing double crochet stitch. That means that it stands for the first double crochet stitch of the round instead of the chain 3. So yeah, let's begin now. I already did some tutorials on how to make a crocheted granny square. You can check out those because there are different patterns, there are different numbers of stitches between each clusters of 3, but the only difference is every time there is a cluster of 3. So most of them, let's say it like that, because if you do Sunburst granny square, then you start with a circle and then you go out and make it square. But yeah, for this tutorial I'm gonna be using just one color, so I won't be changing any colors, and it's gonna be a simple crocheted granny square Christmas tree. Let's start. So I'm gonna start with a slip knot. That means yarn around my thumb. I go in from the bottom. Oh, I have something here. So I go in from the bottom, grab the working yarn and pull it through. Now in some of my tutorials you already saw that I am usually starting with a magic ring, but this time I am gonna start with some chains. So I'm gonna do a chain of 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now I need to join this chain of 4 into a small circle, and I'm gonna do it with a slip stitch. So just pull the yarn through. Now this is the beginning circle, and the first round is gonna be done in here. It looks a bit small, but it will widen up once you start doing the clusters of 3. Okay, so let's begin now. The first cluster of 3, I'm gonna begin with a chain of 3. I said that you can also do a starting, standing, double crochet stitch for this, but I'm just gonna be using chain of 3s. And now 2 more double crochet stitches, and the first cluster is done. Now a chain of 2 that marks the corner, and 3 more double crochet stitches. So that's 1, hope you can see it, 2 and 3. Another chain of 2, that's the corner. Now this is the third cluster of 3 double crochet stitches. So that's 2 and 3. As you can see, the starting tail, I am laying it over the chain of 4 and kind of hiding it already in the work. That just means it saves me a bit of time when at the end I can just cut the starting tail off. Again, I am at the corner, so chain of 2, and this is now the last cluster of 3 double crochet stitches in the first row. So that's 1, 2 and 3. Now here you have options how to close up each of your rounds. You can do a chain 2 and then do 3 slip stitches to go into the next corner, but I'm gonna show you a small trick what I do. I prepare as I would do a double crochet stitch. I go on in through 2 loops of the third chain of the chain of 3 that I started with. I pull it through, so now I have 3 loops on my crochet hook, and at the end I just pull through all 3 of them, and that counts as the chain of 1. So I kind of have 1 chain stitch here and 1 chain stitch here, and I will be increasing all in the corners. So yeah, that's my trick. Perhaps you already knew it, so if you did, good for you. If you didn't, well, it's time to learn something new. And I have no idea what's going on with my camera today because it's starting to focus in and out a lot. Okay, so round 2, I'm gonna begin with the chain of 3 and 2 more double crochet stitches that count as the first cluster of 3. Now to go into the next corner, I'm gonna do a chain 1 and a corner. Now corner is 3 double crochet stitches, so that's 2, 3, chain of 2 and another 3 double crochet stitches, so that's 1, 2 and 3. And I think I know why the camera is going in and out of focus, because I have my scissors here, so hopefully now it will be fine. Okay, so I am between the 2 corner stitches. I'm gonna do a chain of 1. In that chain of 1, in the next round, I am gonna be doing clusters of 3 again. Again, I am in the next corner, so 3 double crochet stitches. So that's 2 and 3. Now I have to do a chain of 2 and another 3 double crochet stitches. So 1, 2 and 3. Again, I am in between the corner stitches. I'm gonna do a chain of 1 and another corner, so that is 3 double crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, chain of 2 and another cluster of 3 double crochet stitches. So that's 1, 2 and 3, chain of 1 between the clusters of in the corner, and now the last cluster, again 3 double crochet stitches, and now I have to join in the corner, and it's gonna be the same join as if I would do a double crochet stitch, so yarn around my crochet hook in the third chain of the starting of the row through both loops, grabbing the yarn. I have 3 loops on my crochet hook. grabbing the yarn again and pulling through all 3 of them. So this is now 2 rows done of the granny square. Let's go for another round. Well, I'm gonna actually be doing 2-3 more rounds to get kind of the size of the crochet Christmas tree that I want. So again, I'm gonna start with the chain of 3 and 2 double crochet stitches. So that's a 1, 2. In between, there is in the chain of 1 you do a cluster again of 3 double crochet stitches, and in between you do a chain of 1. So chain of 2 is in the corners. Everywhere else you do a chain of 1 between the clusters. So a cluster is always 3 double crochet stitches that are kind of separated with the chains. So in the corner, 2 chains. Now you might think it's a bit loose, this granny square, and you are right, because I'm using a crochet hook. I think this one is a size 4, but as you can see, I kind of scraped down the size of the hook that it says up here, so I'm just guessing it's a number 4 millimeter. I could have used a smaller one, because for this kind of yarn I am usually using a 3 or 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. Oops, I'm not in the corner yet, so there's only a chain of 1. But because in this Christmas tree ornament you get to fold the granny square few times, so you won't see those larger holes. And it also means it's gonna be faster done and quicker done. So yeah, it is a bit of a time saver. So another chain of 1 in between the clusters of 3 double crochet stitches. And I just dropped my yarn. I need to put it back in my drawer because I'm still searching for my perfect yarn ball. I haven't found it yet, so I will do that, so my yarn won't be dancing around the floor or in my drawer. Now here again I am in the corner, so that means a cluster of 3 double crochet stitches, a chain of 2, and another cluster of 3 double crochet stitches. Chain of 1. In the previous row of chain of 1 I am doing a cluster of 3 double crochet stitches, chain of 1, go to the next one, and this is the last corner, so I'm gonna do 3 double crochet stitches. And again in the corner, as I already mentioned, as if I would be doing a double crochet stitch, yarn around my crochet hook in the 3rd chain of the beginning, going in, pulling the yarn through and pulling the yarn through all 3 loops, beginning with a chain of 3, so that's 1, 2, 3, and 2 more double crochet stitches, so 1, 2. Now just remember, in each of the chain 1 I am gonna be doing a cluster, and in between those I will be doing a chain of 1, except in the corners there go 2 clusters of 3 in, and in between there are 2 chains. And that's it. That is this kind of a granny square. Now you have options where you can actually also make a solid one if you want. It's up to you. Or you can skip the chain 1 and just do clusters of 3, and then in the corners you can also sometimes opt for a chain of 1 or a chain of 3. There's a lot of variety on how you can do a granny square, but yeah, For this Christmas tree ornament, I did opt for a chain of 1 in between the stitches and a chain of 2 in the corners. And I think it works. As long as you are making this kind of a granny squares from the beginning. So if you started with a chain of 1 and a chain of 2 in the corners, then go with that all the way. If you would change it, if you would be, I don't know, skipping the chain 1 in between the clusters, then you wouldn't have enough space. Well, not enough space. The granny square wouldn't lay out flat because it would start to come together. But also if you would perhaps started doing the, instead of chain of 2, chain of 3s in between the corners, then it would go out. Yeah, it wouldn't become smaller, it would become bigger, and then you would have waves of excess clusters, not clusters, but just waves of excess granny squares that they don't lay flat. My voice is a bit leaving me, so that's why I'm gonna shut up just for a while, and I'm gonna be crocheting this granny square in peace and silence, and well, the little of the background music that you perhaps hear, and I'm gonna get back to you when I'm gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows done. So yeah, this granny square is gonna be done from granny square Christmas tree ornament is gonna be done from granny square made from 6 rows. So now you can crochet at your own pace, and I'm gonna crochet at my own pace without trying to talk much, and I'm gonna see you then after my 6th row when I'm gonna show you how to finish it off. If you want, you can definitely skip to there because I'm gonna put a timestamp so you will know when I will finish and how to join this square to make a rectangle well, to make a Christmas tree. So yeah, you do your granny square, I will do my granny square. I kind of hope you got the pattern that I am using here. Now if you have your own, you can use your own. It doesn't matter because at the end it's just how you actually fold the granny square. So yeah, I'm gonna now crochet in quiet and see you at the next timestamp with how to fold the granny square. Okay, so I am back here with my 5th row with the last cluster of 3 in my 5th row. So I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, and again I'm gonna do as I would do a double crochet stitch, and when I have all 3 stitches on my crochet hook, I'm just gonna pull through all 3 of them. Now I'm gonna stop here because this granny square measures about 10 centimeters. So, and through the diagonal is about 13, and I think this will be a good size for an ornament. So whenever your granny square measures about 10 centimeters on each side, you do the last stitch and you leave about 50 centimeters of end tail. And if you want to know why, is because we still have to sew a few things. So I'm cutting the yarn, and as you can see, I have kind of a long end tail. So what I'm first gonna do is I'm gonna do a chain 1 and pull the yarn through. Now my yarn is at the center of the corner now, and I'm gonna be working from there. If you want, you can definitely go and block your granny square or at this moment, but because I'm making this tutorial, I will skip that step. But yeah, you can definitely go and block your granny squares, just so it's gonna be much easier for you to sew. But yeah, this is the front side of the granny square, this is the back side, so I now want the back side facing me, and I'm gonna start assembling it. So I fold the left side to the center. You see here is the center of the stitch, and I pull the right side towards the center, and I kind of align those stitches, and that means that up here in the corner where the stitches are met together, I'm gonna be sewing through the most inner 2 stitches. So I'm not gonna go through the whole stitch, I'm just gonna grab the 2 inner parts of each stitch. So here is gonna be the back loops only for both of them. And I just start with sewing. So I go from one stitch to another. So I'm going from the right side to the left side. I'm pulling them together and I'm grabbing just the back loops of both. Now here in the corner it is just a bit tricky, but once you get a bit lower down, it's gonna be much easier because you're gonna be it's gonna be easier for you to see where those stitches align. But yeah, for now I am grabbing the back loop and the back loop and going through those 2 back loops, and this kind of makes a nice closure and it works. Now if you have any other methods of how you want to join or what kind of a stitch you want to use, you can definitely use that, but as I already said, these back loops only are my thing to do on this kind of a this specific Christmas tree ornament. With any other work, of course, with any other work, at the end I could have just crocheted those 2 sides together and then flatten it out, but I can actually show you here on this one. There is I mean, just using some scrap yarn, so there are like 3 different types of yarn here, but yeah, you can see how nice and flat the stitch looks, and this is exactly what I'm going here. So I want a nice flat stitch that joins together the 2 sides of the Christmas tree that you get from a granny square. Now once it's almost halfway there, I find it easier again to just kind of fold them together and then sew through the back loops of the front and the back. And that's it. Now this is one side done, and then you still need to sew together the bottom, and I need like a few more stitches and I will be at the bottom, and then I'm gonna show you how I tuck in the bottom part and how I sew together so it stays in a nice triangle-y shape. Okay, I'm just gonna untwist my sewing needle. Okay, so I kind of get this cone, and now I just flatten it out. I just flatten it out, and you see here this little triangle. Now I have to tuck it in. So you can sew it in like this, you can then watch it like this, but I think it's much neater if you tuck it in and then sew this part together. And how I do that is, first I move my needle into a corner because I want to start in the corner and then go from the right side to the left side, or if you prefer you can go from the left side to the right side, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I find it much easier to do a whole stitch row, not just half of it and then go on the other side for the second half. And then I just again just sew from the bottom, the straight line. I am grabbing just the back loops, and I try to grab a nice amount of yarn of the part where there are actually no stitches like visible from the top of the chains. And that's it. That is how I then join this up. I am halfway there with the bottom part sewn together. And once it's sewn together, you get a granny square Christmas tree. Well, you get a Christmas tree made from a granny square. Now here I did it in one color. If you want, you can change colors of the rows. I think I will make another video tutorial just to show you how I do that. But for now, I am at the end of the row. I just want to kind of pull my yarn to the middle because I am gonna make a knot here. So how I do a knot is I go with my needle and make a small, I kind of grab one of the stitches, and with the yarn on the needle I go twice around the needle and pull it through, because that makes my knot very close to the work and it's secured. And that's it. I can now cut the yarn, and ta-da! I have a granny square Christmas tree. And that's it, to be honest. This one I made today. Now I just wanted to show you again this one because again this one was made with scrap yarn that I embroidered some green for the branches, and I put some seeds and beads on it, and I sewn together actually two of the granny square Christmas trees because well, you will see up here in the top left corner how the back side of this one looked. So yeah, I showed you today how to crochet a granny square Christmas tree. I think it's perfect to make a Christmas tree forest. That is what I am gonna be doing. I will make a few more in different sizes, in different kinds of yarn, because I think it looks I think it looks really good. And yeah, definitely on this one there is a single color. You can put any beads or something like that that you can also just glue on if you don't want the hassle to make another granny square for the back side. But yeah, that is it. As you saw, it was really easy. You make a granny square and then you just fold it, and sew, and you get a granny square Christmas tree. I hope you enjoyed it, and until the next time, I'm gonna say happy crafting!